So to start, does anyone know the name? If I say Ben Stelter, does anyone know who that is? I don't think any Stelter. I don't think any of you will know him. That's why it's a great example. But does anyone happen to know him? No, that's okay. That just means you aren't that into hockey. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. So Hannah will show you a picture of Ben. It's a small one. There's bigger ones later. I think he's about 4 there. You can move on to the next one. And I know Ben because last hockey season, he was invited to be with the Oilers, who's his favorite team. He was diagnosed with glioblastoma when he was 5 years old. I think he's 6 right there. He's just been a very big impact on my life. Inspiration, I would seek out, he has lots of videos his dad would post on the internet of him being with the players, and he always has a little giggle, and I would seek that content out because it brought me joy. It brought me just a lot of joy to see. If anyone wants to go look, they're on YouTube, I'm sure. But not only did he bring me joy and encouragement, he probably brought the team as well. So they're the Edmonton Oilers. I think I said Houston, that's football. And they're now the Titans. When he first went to the games, invited, he was honored. Can move on to the next one, Hannah. You see he's on the ice there. He's in full outfit. He has his own jersey that says Stelter on the back, his own number. Okay, you can do next slide, Hannah. His cheeks are growing because the cancer treatment, probably, if I had to guess. There's a hat they gave him that they usually give the best player. They all invited him at the end of the game to the locker room and honored him with that. If you move to the next one. He was in a press conference. And I don't know how he made it through there without being completely nervous at 6 years old, but one time they asked him who his favorite player is during this press conference. It's not the guy next to him, but he still answered Connor McDavid. He's very bold. I think if I was a kid, I'd just say the guy that's next to me. And then one more, Hannah. And he also got his own hockey card. So they've done this before, but he had the honor of getting a hockey card even at 6 years old. And when he first started going to the games, the Oilers were 35-24, and everyone was making fun of them because they have the best 2 players probably in the whole league, but they aren't very good, and they're at risk of missing the playoffs. Well, when Ben went, he went to 10 games, and he had a 10-game winning streak every time he went. He went to more than 10, and they ended up making it all the way to the conference championship. They didn't make it to the cup final, but they made it far. And now it could just be because they have Connor McDavid, but being around someone like Ben probably does encourage you. It grounds you. You know, being an athlete, you have to block out a lot of the stress and the anxiety of failure. Well, nothing grounds you about failure than seeing a little boy who's struggling with this, but still smiling, still giggling. But I brought tissues, but... So when Rosemary first told us we were going to do this, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but it was August 10th, I woke up and found out he passed away, and I just cried. And to have a 6-year-old like that I don't even know make that big of an impact, just ministered to me about how much of an impact we can all make on anyone. He's 6 years old. All I know is he touched me and encouraged me to be a blessing to others and to be an impact. I think Cliff just said that in his prayer. He wanted that ministry to be an impact. Now I'm going to test Robert right away. Robert, can you think of a Bible verse that would call us to be an impact on other people's lives? Can you think of one? I picked you in particular. I'm thinking of it's right here, Matthew 13:16, Hannah, if you want to pull that up. It's being salt. Be the salt of the earth. What does salt do? Changes everything in contact with.
Amen.
You know, Ben changed my life a little bit. Not as much as the Lord, but he affected it. And we all are called to do that. So first I want to ask if anyone's willing to do writing for me. I know Edie's good at it. If you're willing, thank you, because I'm not good at writing. I have 3 colors. They all work. Thank you very much. And I want you all have to work right now. Can you think of examples of ways we can bless and be an impact for each other and for the world and be that salt that we're called to be. Can anyone think of any? I have some if you don't.
Listen and just be someone to talk to and hear. Yeah.
All right, can you write that one down? You talk, just simply talk. It's a good one.
Genuinely rejoice during times of praise and worship.
Rejoicing, exactly. That's a good one. I have that on my list. I have a list of ones that I want you all to hit because I'm going to talk about them, but if you don't, I'll say them. That's one of the ones I wanted to hit on.
Be genuinely praising, joyfully, genuinely, gratefully. Kids can notice stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Genuinely, key word.
Yeah. You can go, Leslie.
Be a prayer warrior.
Prayer warrior, yes. Praying for others. You just put that. That's good.
To be a good listener and encourager.
Encourager. We can add encourager. That'll be a good one to add. Because we got listen. Is anyone else? All right. And then when you get ready, I'd like you to add send a letter. Simply send a letter. Has anyone ever here that's here today sent a letter to someone in this body? I know Ben has. Ben's not here. But just, yep, Karen has. It's one of the easiest things we can do, but it's a blessing.
That could be on Messenger or, it doesn't
Right.
have to be with a postcard.
Doesn't need to be a
It can
physical letter at all. It can be as simple as a text.
yeah,
It just
I
shows
did
that you're thinking about them. And then, can you write down, share the word? That's a good one to bless others, especially at church. That's what I'm trying to do today with you.
That's what you're doing.
That's what I'm doing. And then just put hosting. Thank you.
Hosting.
And then put helping with anything. That's a catch-all. Now with the small list we have, can anyone think of reasons why we wouldn't do that? Because
I've come to believe that there are people that have such a low opinion of themselves, their face, their voice, their
Absolutely.
impact, that they don't want to bother somebody
Mm-hmm.
by being that forward as to get in their space. It took me years to
Yeah.
figure that out.
That's the
There's people
first-
that think that small of themselves.
that's the first thought I had, because
Really?
because
I just learned.
when I think about if I want to invite someone to host one thing, I'm like, oh, they don't want to come, they don't want that. But any of us, if we're worried about ourselves, that's what we think about. We think about how we're feeling. We're not thinking about them.
That's right.
We gotta get past thinking about ourselves, and that goes with everything. Why you wouldn't send a letter? Oh, they don't want a letter from me.
Yeah.
Or you don't think, or if you're just generally not thinking about it. It's not that you don't like them, but to be an impact in the Lord, you have to be conscious. You have to be wanting to make an impact.
Yeah.
You have to seek it out. All right, thank you. That's all I need for that. Thank you so much, Edie, for our applause. One more point I wanted to add about, Ben being 6 years old. There's examples in the Word, too. Josiah was 8, made an impact. So it doesn't matter if you're 6 years old. Doesn't matter if you've been in ministry a year. There's no excuses for if you're making an impact or not. You make an impact. You do what you can. You be that salt by His Spirit. All right, the first example I want to give for ways people have been an impact to me is, he's not here, unfortunately. You plan things out and you just hope they show up, but he'll see it maybe later. But it's Ben. Ben sent me a letter, I think it was a couple years ago. I couldn't find it because it's packed away somewhere. It was just so sweet, though.
Yeah.
And I didn't send him one back, but in Galatians 5:13, if anyone wants to pull that verse up, it says, "For brethren, you have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion of the flesh, but by love and serve one another." Ben has a lot of things he can probably go do that satisfy his flesh, but he chose to serve me as a brother in Christ and be an encouragement and ultimately serve the Lord. And Ben is someone I've noticed, I've heard stories. Jacob shared one last weekend. Ben looks to be used. Ben will go to Myers, he'll bring strangers home, and he'll specifically go there because he's like, maybe I can be used by people. He's conscious of it. That's something when I hear Ben do that, I want to do that more. I go Life Force, but am I consciously, actively, purposely looking for ways to impact on people's lives? Because it can be as simple as driving them home or giving them $5, which I've heard Ben do as well. But all those little things add up to being a blessing and an impact
That's right.
in where you live.
That's right.
Another one, I have my second one. Karen Rourke, last Saturday, we were just talking. She said, I didn't properly thank you, talking to me and Hannah, for the work we helped with their wedding. And I was like, oh yeah, well, you're welcome. And I got in the car and I told Hannah, like, oh, Karen said I didn't properly thank you. And I just laughed and said, she just doesn't remember what she did for my wedding. Oh. You know, we don't always remember the things we do for others when we're so thankful for what they did to us. But a lot of times when you're a giver like Karen has been for me or for any of you, it'll come back. And there's a verse for that. That's Luke 6:38. If anyone wants to pull that one up. It says, give, and it shall be given unto you.
True. Good
Measure, pressed down and shaken together. It's coming fast. It will be there before you even notice. She didn't know when I was going to help her. When she first helped me, none of her children were married. One is now. Opportunity. And running over. Shall men give unto your bosom, for with the same measure you meet, whereall it shall be measured unto you again. So we don't have to worry about when we're giving what's coming back.
That's right.
You know, I go to a church here that I don't think any of us aren't willing to help. But you know, you go to a big church, you go to one of these ones crowded, there might be people that don't lift a finger, and they'll leave that church and go, why am I not getting anything?
Yeah.
That's a wrong attitude. If you leave this church, I don't think any of you are an example of that, and are going, why aren't I being blessed? Well, are you blessing?
Are you blessing?
Because if you are, it'll come back. If it's not, then you're in just a really bad church. I'm sorry about that. And then you should look for a new one. If you're just if you keep pouring and get nothing back, I'd question the leadership there. But my next story I want to go to.
There's a story you might not have heard, and most of you have, about a man in Honduras that was an evangelist there for years and years. Not one person that he knew of got saved. Then the evil people, drug people, who knows, killed him, but they made him dig his own grave. And while he was doing it, he was singing songs to the Lord. Some guy was in the bushes hearing all this. He got saved and evangelized everybody. So our measurement sometime about the effectiveness of a ministry is not always the same as God's eternal perspective.
Oh yeah, especially, yeah. It's good to think of too. My next example is also about a wedding. So I had the pleasure of going to weddings 2 weekends in a row, both on Saturday. One I had to help a little bit. The other I had nothing to do. I was just a guest. I sat, I was lazy, enjoyed the wedding. It felt wrong, to be honest. Me and Hannah, when we both got to the reception, we asked if they wanted help, and they said, no, we got it. But it's weird to be in a place like that and not need anything, but so I felt a hole in me, like I want to help. It blesses me to help. But in both those weddings I drank a beer. Well, the wedding where I served, it tasted a little bit sweeter. It was a little bit more rewarding of a drink, you know. And it wasn't because the beer was any better. It was because I was in a more joyful mood because all the giving I did. There's a verse for that. We have Acts 20:35.
About beer?
It's not about beer. Okay. That's probably in the Old Testament. You find one of those. Do you have that one, Hannah? 20:35 Acts? My lovely wife. She is. And it's right there. I have showed you all things, how that so laboring you ought to support the weak, and to remember that the words of Lord Jesus, what did he say? He said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. It's not that the beer was any better. I was in a better mood.
Yeah.
And I was in a fine mood at the other wedding. It doesn't say the other giving is bad. I was in a fine mood or receiving is bad. I was in a fine mood at that wedding, but I was in a better mood at the one where I was able to help.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's something we can get twisted. You know, me and Hannah have had not arguments, but like talks where people will give me money for random things like, oh, I paid for dinner. Oh, they gave us money back. And she doesn't want the money. And I'm sure all of you have done dances like this with John Rourke or other people. And you try to give them money and they won't take it. Or if they give you money and you don't want money, they'll keep trying to give it to you. But if you ever do that with me, I take it instantly. And it's not because I'm greedy. It's because I know how good that'll make you feel if I let you give this money to me. Now, I would rather give it back as well, like Hannah. Me and Hannah are in agreement with that. But it's not worth it to me when I know it will bless you.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, yes, I'm happy too. Like, it sounds like, oh, I'm way better. I get I don't. It feels way better to take this money because I know you feel better for me taking it.
Yeah, good job.
Like that's not my heart.
Sacrifice.
But we've had like discussions, and Hannah's like, oh, "Why'd you take that money?" I was like, "Well, I didn't want it either, but it's a blessing to receive, and it's a blessing to give, and I wanted them to have that blessing. So if you ever have that problem with me, you won't, because if you don't want to give it, I'm not going to ask. If you do give it, I'll take it." Another example I want to go to is my father. He's back there, Richard. He has 2 TVs in his house. Now, a lot of people have 2 TVs in their house, and it's so that they can watch different things at the same time, but I don't think him and Tracy do a lot of watching TV separately. He has 2 TVs in his house to have people over and watch the game, and you have 2 different areas where you can watch TV. So he bought a whole new TV just to have people over and to bless them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's nice.
They'll minister.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have a TV, but I still love all of you.
You don't have any TV?
I have a computer I watch stuff on. I watch TV. I don't have a TV. The next one I want to give, it's a more ministerial one. It's Rosemary. I don't remember. I think it was last season. It was such a bad storm that only me and Hannah showed up. And Karen came after our service, but it ended so short. So she would have been there. But it was really bad. Like, they didn't even plow our driveway. I was like a sled just pushing through the snow. But when we showed up, we have a good relationship with Rosemary. She knows we love her. She could have done nothing. She could have saw 2 people showed up and said, well, we'll just cancel. Or just, let's just hang out and talk. But she wanted to give. But if you go to Romans, I think it's 10:13 I put on there, Hannah. Whatever the Romans one is. It says, "For I say, though the grace given to me for every man that is among you, not to think himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt with every man a measure of faith." There could be some ministers out there that won't even leave the house unless 2,000 people show up. No way. Because they think I'm the minister. I'll only minister 1,000. I only will go out of the house if I can bless 5,000 people. Rosemary just had us. Did she put her bags away and say, I'm too good for this? Because she is. She has a lot of things that would say she's too good to bless 2 people, but she's not. That's not. Sometimes it's the best, true, yeah. And we had a great sermon. It was more interactive than even the normal ones. But that's the good mindset to have. She has the Lord's Spirit in that doesn't matter how many people, doesn't matter what, her heart is to give. That's what we're talking today. She's trying to make an impact. And that same feeling that the minister has that does 2,000 people, it's the same feeling. Maybe it's greater, maybe it's less, I don't know. It's the same feeling. Being used by the Lord. Doesn't matter how many.
That's right.
And then this is something Rosemary mentioned. You can bless someone just with your face. If I do the rest of this message frowning by saying the same words, you're really not going to enjoy it as much.
Work at that, right?
I work at frowning. But you get we try. The Lord is so good. I'm blessed to be here. It's the same words, it's blessed words, but it's not the same. I'm not happy. You don't see happiness on me. And me even smiling is a joy. Someone like Paula, I'm sure when she's at home, she's not just sitting there smiling. Okay, I'm going to assume that. I don't see her at home. But if she's here, she's smiling. I don't know if it's because she's excited to see everyone or if she just knows. The wedding too. If she's anywhere in public, she'll just give that smile. And I don't know if she's thinking about doing that and she knows she's doing it, but if she is, that's a blessing too. Funeral, same thing. Smile, smile, smile. It's a phrase that he has a smile that'll light up a room. Yeah. And it's true. It'll minister. So even when you come to church, I just encourage you, put on a smile. Like maybe you're tired, maybe you're not feeling it. Well, if you smile, you might start feeling it because you're with a group of people that'll make you feel loved, and then you don't even have to put one on. And then I have another example. This is horrible writing. Oh, this is another one too. I don't know how many people are here. It might be an even number, an odd number. But if I lined up everyone here and then paired you off at 2, could you minister to the person across from you? Does everyone have the ability to simply do that? Prayer, just talk to? Could you confidently do that? If anyone couldn't, you could raise your hand.
You want the ones that can't do it to raise?
Well, I didn't think I'd get any hands, but you could pray for them, right? Yeah, see? It can be as little as a prayer.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Oh, you can, yeah, see? I didn't think I was going to get any hands. Because it's true. Like, maybe not everyone can be up here comfortably, and I understand that. And that's, you ask the Lord to give you strength. Like I said when I first got up here, it's not that I'm not anxious. I was telling the girls over there, Sue and Joanne, I thanked them for getting up the other day, and we were just talking about doing that and that process. And Sue had mentioned how she forgets things to mention. I was like, oh, I do that. And she's like, you do? I was like, yeah, I do. You don't have to feel wrong for that. You don't have to feel like you don't belong up here because you forget words. I do it all the time. Like I said, it's a feeling you can't even help. When I like to explain it like how Paul says, I do the things I ought not. I can't help but feel anxious when I'm up here. My body takes over, but
You're having fun.
I'm having fun, the joy. And the more you do it, the less.
Exactly.
The less you'll feel. Someone like Jacob, I'm sure, even still gets it, but you can't tell. So don't always base how other people look and say, well, I can't go up and give. You can give.
Yeah.
The Lord will strengthen you, but the enemy wants to tell you you can't. So if you want to listen to him, I wouldn't, though. Let the Lord strengthen you. And the verse I chose for that's 2 Corinthians, verse 8 through 12. If I would pull it up. For if there be a willing mind, so first right away, are you willing? It is accepted according to that a man hath. So he's not asking you to give anything you don't have.
That's right.
The Lord has never told me to go up there and do a piano solo. I don't think he ever will.
You did a drum.
I did drum, I did bass, but he'll never ask me to do piano unless I know how. And I have confidence that he will ask Joshua, and Joshua better go up there, and he can't say, if the Lord tells him that, he better go up there. And Joshua can't say, well, Dylan doesn't do that. If you see someone doing something, you're like, well, he doesn't do that. Why should I have to do that? You have to have your own relationship with the Lord
right.
and learn what he's given you to give and give it. Yeah, I know I think Robert's been saying that. He keeps saying, I got a thing coming up about blessing. Like, Robert, I think that's similar to mine. I already have a plan.
Preaching a quarter of it, but I'm not going to share the offering.
There you go. See, Robert has more. The Robert can trust the Lord. He'll fill his mouth. He's been confident with that. But that's why we're even here today. I mentioned before we even started, I'm happy to be at a church where I can be used.
Yeah.
But that isn't everywhere. I didn't grow up going to church, so I don't really know what others are like. But to be able to have open pulpit, we talk about it all the time. Everyone here is thankful. But it truly is something I think I take for granted. Like, maybe it's because I'm in the school and I have to sometimes. But like, I'm not staying up on Friday night like, ooh, I can give, let me give. I'm not doing that. But if you ask me, do I want to be used of the Lord, I'll say yes. But that's what the whole point. If we want to do this, you have to be purposed. And what's our reason? Is it after Christ? That's a good reason. Is it to treat one another and to love one another? That's a good reason too. Like, if I just picture one of you, any of you, I probably would get the motivation to do something. I'm sure all of you are the same. But that's what we have to fight, because our body, we can't help it. We think of ourselves 24/7. We don't have to even try. Our bodies are programmed, our mind's programmed to just think us, 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 us. That's why when we're in the Lord, it's not all about us. We're supposed to be dead. That's what it's about. We're buried. The old man's gone, but he's not. He's still there. We have to put him down. We have to let the Lord come up through our spirit. I've been really tested with Light Force these past couple of years. I think Rosemary always says it every time. It's like, before I go, I just say, I just woke up from a nap. I don't want to go. But I tell you, every time after we're done, it's a blessing. And you can see the difference you make. Like Rosemary said, don't base your ministry off of the fruit of it, because you won't ever know. But when you do have fruit, man doesn't encourage you. Sometimes you see it can be as simple as a smile. It can be as simple as, I've been waiting for the Lord to pray for me. Or if they even need prayer, that encourages you too. I just encourage you all to find your own ministry. I haven't found mine yet. I'm in the school. Rosemary's asked us before, what do you see yourself doing? And I don't have a perfect picture in my mind. But all of you, even if you aren't in school, you have to find your ministry, because you have to be used. The Lord wants to use you. Cliff wants to say something. He wants to use you. He has a plan for you to be used. But you're going to keep telling yourself, your body's going to tell you you're not useful. But don't. The Lord can use anyone. He can use you if you're like, you don't have to be perfect to be used of the Lord, or else the Lord would only use Jesus. Just keep striving for that perfection. Keep in repentant heart, but he'll use you where you are.
that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. Oh, thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave.
Hallelujah.
Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave.